a fundamental move that leads to several exciting openings. Players win more games with the Sicilian defense than any other first move. There are many lines in the Sicilian defense to explore from here. Black opens up the light-squared bishop and controls the central dark squares. White offers to trade in the center, giving up a center pawn for more active pieces. This trade gives black 2 central pawns versus 1 central pawn for white. White recaptures the pawn and activates the knight in return for having 1 central pawn versus black's 2 central pawns. Black develops the knight toward the center and attacks the undefended white pawn. White defends the pawn and starts to develop on the queenside. This advance prepares to take space on the queenside and also restricts white's minor pieces. f3 supports the e4 pawn and controls the g4 square, but slightly weakens white's kingside. The knight is kicked by a pawn and must now move or be captured. This move puts the knight on a safer square. Black develops the bishop and supports the center, developing the bishop and increasing influence in the center. Solid. Continuing with standard opening theory, this threatens to win material through an eventual fork. This stops the opponent from being able to win material through an eventual fork, a straightforward recapture, developing the knight and increasing influence in the center. Here, white prepares to tuck the king safely on the queenside. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. Castling queenside tends to be more active than kingside because the rook is closer to the center. This develops the bishop and gives it scope on the long diagonal. This is the strongest option. Very strong play. This threatens to force an isolated pawn. A new attacker joins the pressure on the pawn. A strong move, occupying an outpost square and keeping the initiative. Great find. This was the only move that works. This calmly removes the queen from an immediate threat. After all captures, this is an equal trade. A clear recapture. This creates a pawn chain, linked pawns that form a strong structure. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. A straightforward recapture. One of the best moves. White opens the diagonal for the bishop, increasing its activity. Castling to the opposite side of the board normally leads to a sharp attacking game, a logical move that develops and slows the opponent's central expansion. The piece finds a new active square. The best option was to take an outpost with a bishop. This permits the opponent to take an outpost with a bishop. This takes an outpost, a square where the bishop cannot be kicked out by a pawn. A strong choice. White had an advantage, but now the game is close to equal. The game was close to balanced, but now black is worse. This move steps the queen out of danger and keeps material balance. This wins time by threatening a rook and forcing it to move away. Only one good move here, and you spotted it. This calmly removes the rook from an immediate threat. A strong fork hits 2 targets at the same time. The better move was to defend a pawn that was under attack. A clear recapture. Great find. This was the only move that works. A straightforward recapture. Recaptures from a previous move. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. Right on target. This is the strongest option. This maintains the balance in material with a good trade. The game was close to equal, but now white has the advantage. This gives away a free pawn. That was a free pawn. This defends a pawn that was under attack and had no defenders. A strong choice. This threatens to force weakening the pawn structure around the king. That pawn was free for the taking. The best option was to take an outpost with a knight. This allows the opponent to win a tempo by threatening a rook. This wins a tempo by threatening a rook and forcing it to move away. The best option was to take an open file with a rook. Only one good move here, and you spotted it. The pawn is now adequately defended. This attacks a rook, winning a tempo when it moves away. Great find. This was the only move that works. This calmly removes the rook from an immediate threat. This misses a much better move. That pawn was free for the taking. This passed pawn is a strong asset for white. This passed pawn is a strong asset for black. This passed pawn is a strong asset for white. This passed pawn is a strong asset for black. This promotes a pawn to a queen. A solid choice. A clear recapture. Only one good move here, and you spotted it. This evades the check from the queen. Right on target. This promotes a pawn to a queen. This is the strongest option. A straightforward recapture. A strong choice. The better move was to push a passed pawn. Black was better off, but now their position is winning. Securing the passed pawn makes it harder for white to challenge it. This threatens to capture a pawn and win material after the follow-up trades. This protects an underdefended pawn that is under attack. This is a fair move. This threatens to checkmate the king. This stops the opponent from being able to checkmate the king. By stacking pieces, black improves coordination. This defends the attacked pawn. This evades the check from the queen. Right on target. This is the strongest option. This steps away from the checking queen. That was a free pawn. Very strong play. This moves the bishop to safety. One of the best moves. This calmly removes the pawn from an immediate threat. This stops the opponent from being able to push a passed pawn. A strong choice. A solid choice. Right on target. This steps away from the checking queen, pushing a passed pawn. The threat on the pawn becomes more serious with this move. A forced move, no other option on the board. This makes a passed pawn. A straightforward recapture. Recaptures. This is the strongest option.